We are diving today into an event that really demands immediate and deep scrutiny. The deadly October 26th bombing happened at the Mobil gas station on Regent and King Streets, right there in Georgetown.
Such a tragic event, especially with the loss of 6-year-old Soraya Bourne. It adds such immense gravity, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And what we want to do in this deep dive is really unpack the official reaction. We've got sources detailing the government response, the police investigation.
Right. Our goal here is to dissect that official narrative. Why was this, this awful local tragedy immediately framed as terrorism? And what's the actual evidence they've gathered? Does it stack up?
And that framing, it came from the very top, almost instantly. Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, he was speaking to the press, basically right after the blast on the sidelines of the 13th Parliament convening.
And the words he used were very deliberate.
Extremely. He called the crime abhorrent, of course, but then immediately labeled it an act of terrorism. No hesitation.
And that word, terrorism, that's really the core thing we need to analyze here, isn't it? It's not just an emotional description.
No, it dictates everything that comes next.
Exactly. It changes the whole legal approach, the security response, potentially even the diplomatic angle. You classify it as terrorism, you unlock, well, frankly, greater resources, national and maybe international.
And signals a tougher legal stance.
Maximum penalties. That's what it implies.
Okay, so let's unpack the weight behind calling it terrorism. Because the VP didn't stop there. He gave this explicit warning about how serious the crime was. He said the government takes this incredibly seriously, particularly acts that, and this is the quote, undermine the sovereignty of our country.
Right. And linking a gas station bombing, as horrific as it is, directly to national sovereignty, that's a significant statement.
What's the signal there? What's he trying to convey by using that specific language?
Well, I think it suggests that right from the outset, the government saw potential connections beyond just, local crime. If you treat it just as, say, a domestic murder case, there are limits to the investigation, perhaps. But tying it to sovereignty, that acknowledges, maybe even preempts, the idea that this could be linked to larger, possibly external forces trying to destabilize things.
Like political motives or territorial issues, or even organized crime crossing borders.
Could be any of those. It essentially elevates it from a terrible local crime to a national security issue, instantly.
Which naturally gives them more leeway to look across borders, something he tackled directly. He must have known the perpetrator's nationality would immediately be a hot topic.
Oh, absolutely. And he seemed ready for that. He used the promise of harsh penalties to sort of head off any debate about where the suspects came from.
Right. He said it does not matter what nationality they are, foreigner or local.
Exactly.
Oh.
He stressed the focus is purely on the act itself, the crime, which, cleverly keeps the investigation from getting bogged down in potentially divisive nationalist arguments.
Keeps the focus on the horror of the act, especially losing a child.
Precisely. All attention on the abhorrent nature of the act itself, as he put it.
And because they suspected these potential international links, the investigation scope he promised was, well, huge.
Very broad. He was clear. Pursue all leads. Local, international, wherever they lead.
And even mentioned being open to getting external help if needed.
Which indicates they were prepared for complexity, right? That commitment, saying the investigation would go deeply after linkages wherever they take us, local or international. When a top official says that publicly.
They think there's more to it than meets the eye. A network, maybe?
Probably. They likely believe there was a sophisticated operation to unravel, not just a single actor.
And yet, despite hinting at these deep linkages, he was super disciplined about motive. Wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, when pushed on the why, he just refused to speculate, said his personal opinion didn't matter.
His exact words were something like the immediate concern was the apparent nature of the act itself.
And that's smart, strategically. It maintains the investigation's credibility. By not guessing at motives, political, economic, whatever, he stops other groups from maybe trying to claim responsibility falsely or just muddying the waters.
Right, keeps the pressure on the police work, find the people, get the evidence, first things first.
Exactly.
So speaking of police work, let's pivot from the political promises to the actual investigation on the ground. This is where we see if that serious terrorism framing holds up, right?
This is the proof, yes. And the investigation, led by Crime Chief Wendell Blanham, seems to have moved remarkably quickly.
It really does. What's the latest?
Well, as of the reports we're looking at, they have 9 suspects in custody. 9.
9, okay.
But the real focus, the breakthrough, seems to be around one main suspect, Daniel Alexander Ramirez Perdomo.
And they've got some pretty solid evidence against him already.
Very solid. It looks like a powerful combination, actually. 2 key pieces.
Which are?
First, Perdomo reportedly confessed to the crime.
A confession, okay, that's big.
Huge. But second, and this is maybe even more critical in court, images of the actual explosive device were found on his mobile phone.
Wow. Okay, so digital proof backing up the confession.
Exactly. That changes the game. A confession, sometimes, it can be challenged later, maybe retracted, but images of the device recovered forensically from his phone, that's hard evidence. Links him directly to it, intent, knowledge, possession.
Yeah, you can't argue with that easily. That must speed things up for the police moving towards charges.
Definitely accelerates the process.
And if we look at who these 9 suspects are, you mentioned Perdomo. Who else is involved?
Yeah.
Does it fit that cross-border picture the VP painted?
It does, quite directly, actually. The reports say the group includes Perdomo, who's Venezuelan, then another Venezuelan man and woman, and crucially, a Guyanese hire car driver.
Ah, so a local connection right there.
Exactly. Not just an external plot. It needed local help, at least for logistics. That hire car driver suggests they needed someone on the ground.
Someone with local knowledge, transport.
Precisely. So it wasn't some totally isolated foreign op. It was facilitated, even if it just basically locally. Which, again, kind of backs up the government's serious view that the threat might have, contacts or roots inside the country.
And the timeline they've pieced together, it sounds very premeditated, not like someone who was just hanging around. Perdomo entered Guyana illegally.
Yes, illegally. And get this, on the same day as the attack.
The same day. Wow.
That detail is maybe the most startling part of the planning. It suggests an incredibly tight operational window.
Like a hit and run almost.
Yeah.
Fly in, execute, get out.
It certainly points that way. Arriving illegally that day strongly suggests his sole purpose here was the bombing. Highly premeditated, not someone who was living here or had other business.
And they didn't just show up and plant the bomb, did they? There was surveillance.
Correct. Investigators found that Perdomo, with 3 accomplices, actually conducted surveillance of the gas station before the detonation. They scoped it out.
So reconnaissance. They planned their approach.
Seems so. And we also know where they caught him. Perdomo was arrested in Vergenoegen. That's over in Region 3, across the river.
So not in Georgetown itself, trying to get away.
Suggests an attempt to escape the immediate area, yeah. Blend into a more rural area, maybe. And the police also recovered clothing near there, believed to be what he wore shortly before the arrest. Another piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so a confession, digital evidence, illegal entry on the day, surveillance, a mixed nationality network, including local help, and an arrest outside the city. It's a lot. Where does this leave the 9 suspects legally right now?
Well, the next step is procedural, but absolutely vital. Crime Chief Blanham said the case file is being prepared for legal advice.
Meaning it goes to the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Exactly. The police hand over their evidence package, and the DPP's office decides the next course of action. Basically, what specific charges will be laid against whom.
And I imagine building that case, especially with 9 suspects and terrorism implications, takes time, more than the usual holding period.
You got it. Given how serious this is, terrorism charges are complex, and the number of people involved, the police needed more time.
So they went to court.
Yes, the High Court granted an extension for detaining the suspects. And that's not just paperwork. It's a legal acknowledgement from the courts that, yes, this case is exceptional and needs careful preparation. It sort of underscores the seriousness everyone is treating this with.
So if you connect all those dots for the listener, the confession, the phone pictures, the illegal entry just before the attack, the mixed Venezuelan-Guyanese group, it maps directly back to what the vice president promised, doesn't it?
It really does. He said they'd pursue linkages deeply, local or international. And the police seem to have delivered evidence showing exactly that, both international actors and local facilitation.
A dual threat, basically.
A very robust initial response, seems like. The key thing is the political talk about sovereignty isn't just talk. It's being backed up quickly by investigative work that's finding real, significant evidence about how this was planned and carried out.
The facts seem to be supporting that initial assessment of severity.
So far, yeah.
Okay, so wrapping this up for you listening. The key takeaways seem pretty clear. First, the government isn't treating this lightly at all. It's officially terrorism, and they're promising a very tough response, harsh penalties, and it doesn't matter where the guilty parties come from.
Right. And second, this isn't just rhetoric. Investigators already have powerful, concrete evidence. We're talking a reported confession from the main suspect, plus those digital images of the bomb from his own phone. Very strong starting point for the prosecution.
It's definitely a moment forcing the country to think about, well, new kinds of security challenges.
And VP Jagdeo's promise was specific. Anyone attempting to undermine the sovereignty of our country will face this similar tough approach.
So the final thought may be for you to ponder. Given how intensely they're pursuing the illegal entry, the local help, the international links, what does this focus really tell us about how the government perceives the threat?
Is it just about this one horrific bombing, or does this incident reveal deeper worries about the nation's vulnerability to maybe non-military threats crossing borders? What message does this whole approach send?
Something to definitely keep in mind as this moves from investigation towards the courts. That's all the time we have for this deep dive.